Welcome to Golden Blue, everybody, home of the college football fan. And don't forget about the checklist. Hat check, sunglasses check, Pepsi check, notes check, sources check, and thick skin is a check. And don't forget to sing gear to represent your team and yourself in my background. Send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657, and get yourself a shout out. On to the next video. Hey, you already know what time it is, so might as well sit down, brace yourself, and buckle up because you are entering the speculation zone. In case you're wondering, these are the teams that we don't have represented for the mini helmets. As you can see, we actually have quite a few big brands that's not represented here at Golden Blue. So get your team represented here on Golden Blue. Make no mistake about it, this is a college football YouTube channel, but once March Madness rolls around, I do talk about some college basketball. So for this video, I want to give out my official brackets prediction. And this isn't really looking into things, all the analytics or anything like this. This is more like a gut feeling bracket prediction. So let's see how good Golden Blue Dude can do. And I do this every year. This is the first time I've made a video on it, but I do this every year for ESPN. Some of them do very, very bad. Some of them do really, really good. I've finished in the top 99% before. So hopefully this one, the one that I actually do a video on, is in the top 99%. That would be actually really cool. So first up, we'll start off with the South. Let's go through the matchups real quick. You have the 1 seed Alabama against the 16 play-in teams, Texas A&M CC versus Southeast Missouri State. The 8-9 matchup is Maryland, West Virginia. The 5-12 matchup is San Diego State and College of Charleston. The 4-13 matchup is Virginia Furman. 6-11 matchup is Creighton, NC State. 3-14 matchup is Baylor, UC Santa Barbara. 7-10 matchup is Missouri, Utah State. And 2-15 matchup is Arizona, Princeton. So we'll start at the top. This is an easy pick. I'm going to take the 1 seed Alabama in a blowout. The 8-9 matchup, this is where things get tricky. I'm picking West Virginia, and I know, this seems like a homer pick, but I think West Virginia is more battle-tested in the Big 12. Maryland does have some good wins in there, including splitting with Purdue, which West Virginia lost by 12 earlier in the year. But I think West Virginia is a better offensive team. But our defense needs to be at least halfway decent if we want to beat Maryland. I'm taking West Virginia. In the 5-12 matchup, a lot of people are picking the upset College of Charleston. I'm sticking with San Diego State, the 5 seed. I think they're a better team than people realize. In the 4-13 matchup, this is where I have a big upset. I'm going to take Furman over Virginia. I don't trust Virginia. They never have a good offense. And all Furman has to do is play halfway decent defense, and they have a chance against Virginia. They're not going to score a lot of points. This will be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to take Furman in a big upset over Virginia. The 6-11 matchup, I'm actually going to take NC State over Creighton. I think NC State is a better team than people realize. They have a lot of good wins in the ACC. They're not having to play in that 11th spot. Don't get me wrong, Creighton's a good team, but I'm taking NC State. In the 3-14 matchup, I'm taking Baylor. I really don't think it's going to be competitive, so I'm going to take Baylor over UC Santa Barbara. The 7-10 matchup, this could be a good game, but I'm going to take Missouri over Utah State. Missouri has looked really, really good in the SEC this year. A lot of good wins in the SEC. And finally, the 2-15 matchup, I don't think this will be much of a matchup. I'm taking Arizona in a blowout win over Princeton. Next up, the East region. The matchups. Number 1, Purdue against the 16 playing teams, Texas Southern and Farley Dickinson. 4-13 is Tennessee, Louisiana. 6-11 is Kentucky, Providence. 3-14, Kansas State, Montana State. 7-10 is Michigan State and USC. 2-15 is Marquette and Vermont. In the first matchup, this is easy. You got to take the 1 seed in an obvious blowout. The 8-9 matchup, I'm taking Memphis. I think Memphis is a team to watch. They're sneaky good. 5-12 matchup, I'm actually taking Oral Roberts over Duke. So this is one of my 12-5 upsets. I'm just not impressed with Duke. The first year without Mike Krzyzewski, yes, they get to the big dance, but I don't think they get past the first round. The 4-13 matchup, I think Tennessee is just much better than Louisiana. Maybe Louisiana can make it a game, but I'm going to take Tennessee. The 6-11 matchup, Kentucky and Providence. I think Kentucky is overseeded and Providence is underseeded. Kentucky is very up and down. I'm going to take Providence. I trust them just a little bit more. Then we have the 3-14 matchup, Kansas State and Montana State. Kansas State is very close to being a 2 seed. I'm going to take them in a blowout over Montana State. 7-10 matchup, Michigan State, USC. This is basically a coin flip, but I'm going to go with Izzo and experience for Michigan State to get out of the first round. And finally, the 2-15 matchup, Marquette and Vermont. I really, really like Marquette. They're hot right now. They won the Big East. Big blowout over Vermont. Now we're into the Midwest, the matchups. 1 seed, Houston against 16, Northern Kentucky. 8-9 matchup, Iowa-Auburn. 5-12 matchup, Miami Hurricanes Drake. 4-13 matchup, Indiana-Kansas State. 6-11 matchup, Iowa State versus the play-in 11 seed Mississippi State Pitt. 3-14 is Xavier versus Kansas State. 7-10 is Texas A&M and Penn State. 2-15 is Texas Colgate. Of course, once again, the 1-16, you have to take Houston. That's going to be a blowout. 8-9 matchup. This is a good one as well, but I'm going to take Auburn. Auburn has impressed me. I know they had a bit of a cold streak there for a while, but Auburn was hot towards the middle of the season before West Virginia beat them. I think they're a better team than people realize. The 5-12 matchup, no, I'm not going with the upset here. I'm going to take the Miami Hurricanes. I think they're a good team. 4-13 matchup, I think Indiana takes care of Kent State easily. 6-11 matchup, I actually think that the play-in team will beat Iowa State, and I actually have Pitt winning the play-in game. I don't think Pitt should have to play a play-in game to get into the first round. I think it should have been NC State, Mississippi State. So I'm going to take Pitt over Mississippi State and Pitt over Iowa State. The 3-14 matchup, I think Xavier wins that big. 7-10 Texas A&M versus Penn State. I think this is a bad draw for Texas A&M. Penn State is super hot right now. They got to the Big Ten championship and lost by only 2 points to Purdue. I think they actually played their way into the Big Dance, and they're super hot. 2-15 matchup, not much of a matchup. I'm taking Texas in a blowout. Finally, the West region. The matchups, 1-16 Kansas Howard, 8-9 Arkansas Illinois, 5-12 St. Mary's VCU, 4-13 UConn Iona, 6-11 TCU versus the play-in 11 seeds Arizona State Nevada. 3-14 is Gonzaga Grand Canyon. 7-10 is Northwestern Boise State. 2-15 is UCLA UNC Asheville. Of course, you got to take Kansas, the 1 seed in the blowout over Howard. I'm going to take Arkansas over Illinois. I really don't have a good reason. This is a coin flip. My gut tells me Arkansas. I think the SEC is actually a better league than the Big Ten this year. That's crazy to say. The 5-12 matchup, I'm actually going to pick the upset in this one. I think VCU is a good team. They have a great win over Pitt earlier in the year. Don't get me wrong, St. Mary's is a good team. I just think this is a bad matchup for them. 4-13, I think UConn takes care of Iona quite easily. I'm going to take the 6 seed TCU over whoever wins out of Arizona State, Nevada for the 11 seed. I'll also take Gonzaga in an easy win over Grand Canyon. I like Boise State over Northwestern. Boise State got to the Big Dance last year. They were bounced in the first round. Now they have some experience. I think they actually make it to the second round this year. And finally, the 2-15 matchup. I don't think UCLA has any problems with UNC Asheville. On to the second round matchups. First, the South region. The 1-9 matchup. The number 1 seed Alabama versus the 9 seed West Virginia. I would like to pick my team, but I got to take Alabama. They're looking really, really good this year. You got the 5-13. I'm sticking with San Diego State. A lot of people have them losing in the first round of College of Charleston. I have them getting to the Sweet 16. Then NC State versus Baylor. I just think Baylor is a much more rounded team than NC State, a much better team than NC State. So I'm taking Baylor to the Sweet 16. Missouri, Arizona. This was a tough draw for Missouri. I think Arizona is all over Missouri getting to the Sweet 16. On to the East region. I think Memphis upsets Purdue. I'm telling you, keep your eyes on Memphis. I have them as a Sweet 16 team. Oral Roberts upset Duke in the first round, but I think Tennessee takes care of them in the second round. On to the Sweet 16 for Tennessee. I think Kansas State beats Providence in a very close, hard-fought battle to get to the Sweet 16. I'm taking Marquette over Michigan State. I know Tom Izzo, this is what he likes to do, but I think he gets matched up against an overmatched Marquette. I'm taking Marquette to the Sweet 16. On to the Midwest. I'm going to take Houston over Auburn. Auburn's a decent team, but I think Houston is far and away the more talented team. I'm actually going to take the Miami Hurricanes over Indiana. I think they make a decent run here. I have them in the Sweet 16. Then I'm going to take the 3 seed Xavier over the winner of Mississippi State Pitt coming out of the first round, which I'm picking Pitt. I think this is just a tough matchup for Pitt. I'm taking Xavier to the Sweet 16. Penn State versus Texas. It wouldn't surprise me if Penn State beat Texas, but I think Texas is a better team. They're rolling right now. They got to the Big 12 championship. Yes, they got blown out by Kansas, but they look solid in the Big 12. I'm taking Texas to the Sweet 16. On over to the West. I'm going to take Kansas over the 8 seed Arkansas. This could be a blowout. That's how much better Kansas is than Arkansas. I'm going to take the 4 seed UConn over the 12 seed VCU. This could be a tough game for UConn, but I think they have enough to beat VCU and get to the Sweet 16. I'm also going to take TCU in a slight upset over Gonzaga. This is not the Gonzaga that we're used to as far as dominating. They are beatable, and TCU is looking good this year. I'm taking TCU to get to the Sweet 16. And finally, the 10 seed Boise State against the 2 seed UCLA. I had Boise State getting to the second round, but I think UCLA beats them and gets to the Sweet 16. All right, on to the Sweet 16 matchups. First, the South region. We have the 1 seed Alabama against the 5 seed San Diego State. I think this is where San Diego State gets bounced, and I have Alabama headed to the Elite 8. And the 3 seed Baylor against the 2 seed Arizona. This is a winnable game for Baylor, but I think Arizona is just a little bit better, and it sets up a 1-2 matchup in the Elite 8 between Alabama and Arizona. Next up, the East region. Once again, I'm taking Memphis, this time over the 4 seed Tennessee onto the Elite 8. Then you have the 3-2 matchup between Kansas State and Marquette. I think Marquette is just a little bit too much for Kansas State. Marquette on to the Elite 8. Now to the Midwest, the 1 seed Houston against the 5 seed Miami Hurricanes. This is where I think a 1 seed goes down again. I'm taking the Miami Hurricanes over the 1 seed Houston. I think this is just a good matchup for the Miami Hurricanes if this happens. So I'm taking the Miami Hurricanes to the Elite 8. The 3 seed Xavier against the 2 seed Texas. I almost picked Texas, but there's something about Xavier that I really, really like. So I'm going to take Xavier over Texas on to the Elite Eight. The West region, I'm going to take the 1 seed Kansas over the 4 seed UConn. This could actually be a blowout. I know a lot of people expect this to be close if these two teams do get matched up. I don't think so. I think Kansas is just a much better team than UConn. Kansas to the Elite Eight. And finally, 6 seed TCU against the 2 seed UCLA. I'm going to take the 2 seed UCLA onto the Elite Eight. All right, here's our Elite Eight matchups. The 1 seed Alabama versus the 2 seed Arizona. This is where another 1 seed goes down. Alabama bounced, and the 2 seed Arizona on to the Final Four. I'm telling you, there's something special about this Arizona team. In the East region, the 8 seed Memphis against the 2 seed Marquette. This is where Memphis' Cinderella run ends. I think Marquette is just going to blow them out of the water. I think Memphis will be gassed by then, and they're not as deep as Marquette. Give me Marquette to the Final Four. In the 5-3 matchup, Miami Hurricanes against the 3 seed Xavier. I'm going to take Xavier. I think Miami Hurricanes could give them a fight, but I think Xavier is just a little bit better than Miami Hurricanes. Give me Xavier to the Final Four. And finally, the West region, the 1 seed Kansas against the 2 seed UCLA. You would think that this could be a close game. I don't think so. Once again, I think Kansas blows through UCLA on to the Final Four. Here's your Final Four. The 2 seed Arizona versus the 2 seed Marquette. And then the 3 seed Xavier versus the 1 seed Kansas. In the first game of the Final Four, I'm taking Arizona. This was tough for me to pick because I really do like Marquette. But there's something special about Arizona. Now watch them get bounced by the 15 seed. We'll see. But I have Arizona to the national championship over Marquette. Then the other matchup, the 3 seed Xavier against the 1 seed Kansas. I think this is where Kansas finally gets challenged, but I think Kansas overcomes that challenge and they're on to the national championship. So my national championship is the 2 seed Arizona versus the 1 seed Kansas, and I have to take Kansas with back-to-back national championships. Reminiscent of the Georgia Bulldogs in college football, I think Arizona will be a tough matchup. I think Xavier and Arizona both will be tough matchups for Kansas. I think Kansas is just that good. Kansas is just that deep. I have Kansas as our back-to-back national champions, and the tiebreaker score that I picked is 78-74. Now it's your turn. I'm interested to see on what you think about Golden Blue Dude's gut bracket picks for March Madness. That's all I got for you this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.